You ever notice how sometimes you feel guilty for slowing down and other times you feel guilty for not moving fast enough? I've been thinking about that tension a lot because not every season of life calls for speed and not every season calls for rest. The real question is, do you know which one you're in? This is your weekly reset. Let's talk about it. So lately, I've been having thoughts about alignment versus speed. For me, alignment is when you're doing something that you feel like you're called to do on this earth, and speed is the execution level and pace that you get to implement whatever it is that you're called to do. Lately, I've been feeling like this debate is something that I needed to address personally. I recently just moved cities, and moving creates motion. It gives you a chance to reflect back on where you've come from and where you're headed to. You have a lot of alignment, thoughts, and conversations within yourself. And this happened to me recently. When I was looking back at my old life in my old city, I realized my internal alignment had shifted, but my environment was no longer aligned with that version. And no matter how fast I tried to implement moves or create motion, nothing seemed to work. This really had me feeling some type of way because you pour so much into yourself, you know, every day waking up, trying to do the right thing, trying to get better. But sometimes things just don't work out and it's nobody's fault. It's not for you to put yourself down. And I had to come to a realization that nothing changes if nothing changes. So if my environment no longer felt aligned to the internal version of me, no matter how fast I tried to move, things just didn't work out. I felt like I needed to slow down, but the slowing down needed to happen in a different environment. That's when I decided to move cities and figure it out, see what a different environment would do in terms of stimulating my mind differently, or just see where I can improve as a person and get going again. I had to realize that I wasn't confused about the effort that I was putting in. I was just confused about the timing on where I needed to go. So this got me thinking about road trips. I love a good road trip. I used to take them when I was young. The best thing about taking road trips is when you get into, especially a long road trip, not like 10-minute go and commute to work, but when you're taking a long road trip, these moments that you go through the highway mode where the car is preferably serviced before the trip, gas tank is full, you got your playlist on. Back in the day, I needed to charge my iPod Shuffle and be ready for a long. Them things used to keep a lot of charge. I'll give them that. They were so ahead of the curve. I digress though. So you got to have your music. You got to be locked in for, a duration of time on the road. And on that trip, there's always moments where you'll need to take a rest stop, stretch your legs, refuel, checking direction, grab something to eat. It's all part of the experience of a road trip. And this got me thinking about how no one calls a rest stop failure. They just see it as a part of the preparation for a complete road trip. So when I equated this to my life or life in general, I have realized that there's moments where speed is required. There's a certain level of locking in that you get into in your life where speed is required. So if I go back to my old city, whatever it is that I went there for, which was to gain post-secondary education, I had to lock in that season. There was an opportunity window for me to grow as a human being and as a person in so many different dimensions. And that window of opportunity allowed me to flourish and grow in so many different ways that I'm forever thankful for. It allowed me to build myself as a man because I went there when I was super young. It allowed me to flourish in a season that was meant for me to pursue whatever it is I was pursuing. And this is what I call the highway season, where speed can tend to take precedence over alignment. Because to be honest with you, the major I was taking, I don't really think it served me at the time because I wasn't truly aligned with who I am as a person. I mean, we go to high school and then go to university based on purely vibes, if I'm being honest. You go do a major based on what you think you might like instead of actually trying to figure out what exactly it is that you like. And sometimes it comes back to haunt you because it's a very expensive mistake to make if you're misaligned with your major because you kind of have to switch departments and stuff like that. But most of us just go through it with speed. And then we figure it out after university when the process to me should be having a time to buffer your interest after secondary education and then get into something that you actually like. But that's a conversation for another day. So in this season, I had to hustle. I had to get in my grind mode and just execute so that I could get that season of my life away. This made me realize that some seasons demand speed. If you hesitate, you're probably going to miss the next exit. So I think about career pivots. I think about periods that you have momentum. That's another good one. There's moments in life where you've been working so hard to do something or to be great at something, and you finally get some traction and you finally get some momentum. I think in these seasons, it's very important to capitalize on windows of opportunities to go all in because one of the hardest things in life is gaining momentum. Um, Getting into a zone where things are in flow and you're just aligned and you can just go, go, go. That's the reality of being on the highway. You gotta be able to have your gas tank full and step that foot on the gas and apply pressure because those windows of opportunity don't come a lot. So that's one side of the coin. But the other side of the coin is the need for alignment. So to go back to the old city, it gets to a point where the old environments that you've exposed yourself to, the people, the places, the stories that you've told yourself over and over again, it becomes harder to execute in those environments if you're misaligned, especially for me in this case, internally. So I'm doing the work, I'm becoming a different version from the person that came to execute and, be on the highway. Now I'm at the rest stop. And at the rest stop, I start to realize no matter how fast I try to implement things in different domains, it's not just in one area of my life. Nothing seemed to be moving and nothing seemed to be pouring into me the way I was pouring into myself. And this is where things like burnout pop up, nervous system fatigue, your emotional composition starts shifting. Sometimes it's okay to check if you're still on the right road because you could take an exit and go to a different road where you're derailing the initial direction for your road trip. So that misalignment started making me feel so uneasy about where I was at in life. And I had to make a decision. And the decision was to leave my old city to try something different. Because I figured if nothing changes, I was going to go through the same cycle over and over again. And sometimes we know this like years prior, but we take so much time. This is the aspect of speed. Speed also is super important when it comes to implementing decisions. We take so much time to decide this is what I want or this is working and this is not working. Because if you just audit your life from a realistic and honest place, you'll come to realize There's a lot of things you could have avoided if you just made a decision quickly. Sometimes you need to make that decision from a place of rest, not a place of hustle. Rest isn't weakness. I see it as maintenance. Sometimes you're just not tired from effort. You're tired from misalignment. I think a big part of the problem is misreading what season you're in your life. Trying to go fast when mentally you're just zoned out. Sometimes we're resting when we're literally disguising fear as alignment. Fear is not a bad thing. I think we have a very weird relationship with fear as humans, but it's not a bad thing. It's just data for you to either be aware of what you need to lean into or lean away from, because you can be fearful of situations that protect you, and you can be fearful of situations that actually need you to conquer the fear to be a better version of yourself. So I started questioning how I could heal from my old environment and move forward from a place of rest. I just needed to take a pit stop, refuel myself, and I feel like I had to do it at a different gas station, not at the origin of my journey. Understanding that sometimes going fast without alignment can burn you out, and alignment without movement can keep you stuck, right? So I had to come back, and when I got back, I had to ask myself a couple questions just to understand what was going on underneath. Was I avoiding speed because I was scared of change? Did I genuinely just need to rest so that my mind can think better? Was my body asking for a break physically, spiritually, emotionally from everything that I had experienced in life? Or is my comfort asking me to stay small? I don't have answers to these things. I felt like I just needed to sit with the thoughts, the feelings, and observe my patterns of thinking through consistent journaling, through consistent sobriety, and just showing up. One of the things that came up was sometimes you don't need perfect balance. You need discernment. This week, I want you to ask yourself, am I on a highway season or am I at a rest stop season? And once you answer honestly, I want you to move accordingly, because only you know what season of life you're in. Nobody else. This was your weekly reset. Subscribe if this resonated, and I'll see you guys next week.